Happy Thursday, and we're continuing our two card review series. The one card's a card that I've come a little bit around, not a lot, but at least a little bit. Um, I mess around with it now and again. I don't think it's terrible. I don't love it, but I don't think it's terrible. But the other card has forever changed the aggression game. It was one of our favorite cards when it first came out. We went, wow, this is expensive and crazy. And it gets crazier and crazier with future releases, which we'll talk more about those in the future, because we're just going to kind of focus on what's available at the time while going through this list. So anyway, excited to get through these cards. We're getting really close to the end of Star Lord. We won't finish him. We won't finish his hero pack, right? Because we just have tomorrow, and there's still three more cards. So we'll be able to finish it the following week. But anyway, let us jump over to the screen and check out these cards. Make sure you listen to the podcast, right? This is our daily reminder. Make sure you check out the podcast, leave a review. All that stuff really helps. Whatever you listen to your podcast, everyone that's been listening to them, I'm looking at the stats right now. It's crazy. Thank you everyone that's supporting the podcast. It's really, really cool. Hopefully you've been enjoying it. Hopefully it's just easier than having to deal with like keeping YouTube open or whatever else. Like I understand that's a pain, and podcast players are generally easier for this type of stuff. So I appreciate it. And then finally, if you're on YouTube, consider becoming a member at 99 cents. You get your badges, the emotes, was nothing crazy, but it does help this channel a ton. Obviously, other tiers have more stuff you can possibly get if you are interested in. But even just at 99 cents a month, it helps with this channel a ton. Thank you for everyone that signed up. I really do appreciate it. So thank you. All right. Pulse Grenade. Pulse Grenade was a weird card when it came out. And I'm a little bit better with it now. So Pulse Grenade is a basic upgrade, 2 costs. Hero action. It's a weapon card, sorry. Hero action attack. So if you're stunned, you can't do this. Discard Pulse Grenade and choose an enemy. Discard the top 2 cards of the encounter deck. Deal 1 damage to the chosen enemy for each boost icon. Discard this way. Now, if the standard is 3 for 8, then 1.5 cost is 4. So 2 would be like 5, right? 2 for 5. Let's just say roughly 2 for 5 is the damage you want. So you have to turn over a 2 boost icon and a 3 boost icon to be like good damage. Is that generally going to happen? Probably not. I think the average for most decks on standard is like it's like a 2.3 or 2.4. So it's a little bit, there's a little bit less of a chance you can do it. Now, as you play more difficult decks, the number gets higher, right? So I don't remember if it's Loki or someone like that. The average is like 2.8 or something like that. So if you're running that type of deck, there's actually a good chance that you can hit like 6 damage with this card, which would be nuts. So with this card, it kind of depends on what you're looking at. I think you can get roughly about 4 consistently, which again isn't great. But if we're saving up for a big attack, right? And this is where I kind of come around on this card, is that a lot of times an expert, especially, you're trying to save it for a big attack because you don't want the villain to be on expert stage 3 for very long, right? If at all, you want to flip and knock him out. And a lot of times you're doing it by gathering all your allies, let's say, or gathering your events and recurring them or whatever it may be to do all this damage. Well, it's also nice to have a card out there where you can have 3 pulse grenades out there, right? It's not unique. There's no max or anything like that. So you could put 3 of them out there and just let them chill until you're ready for your push. And let's just say you do get 2 for 4 averaged out, right? Maybe one of them's 2 for 3, one's 2 for 5, whatever it may be. So that's 4, 8, 12 damage as like a final push, split up. So if you had, let's say you were able to flip by attacking, so you timed it really well where your hero can attack for 2 or 1 or whatever it is, and then you flip, be able to do 2, 4, 6 damage. Let's say they have 20 life down to 14. Like that's a massive amount. If you're taking out a quarter of their life with just upgrades that are sitting around, that's really good. That's really strong. Now, obviously, if they have retaliate or you are stunned, this throws a lot of wrenches and things, or if they have tough, it becomes a lot more difficult and doesn't make as much sense. But I do think for a final push, is it an amazing card? No, but I've come around a little bit on this card to go, okay, I can see some value in it if you try that type of build, especially if you don't have, or if you're playing a hero that doesn't have like that big punch out card, right? That 3 for 8 damage or more damage, right? If you don't have that and you do a lot of small damage, like death by 1,000 cuts type of thing, then I can see this card just having more value like that too. There's a few ways I see this card having a lot of value with that. So anyway, like I said, I've come around on this card a bit more. I like it a bit more, but I didn't love it at first. But I don't run it all the time or anything like that. But it does make more sense. All right. The card that changed the game for aggression. As aggression players, we love this card. We don't use it all the time, but we love it. And that is Dive Bomb. It's a 4-cost aggression card event. So 4-cost event aggression. It's an aerial attack card. Play only if the aerial trait. Back then, aerial was still hard to get. Nowadays, everyone and their dog has aerial, it seems. Like, it's really easy for any aerial hero to get. So it doesn't work great on older heroes because you still had to like have, like with Captain Marvel, you had to have like a special upgrade that can detach or whatever. And then Spectrum kind of changed everything, where Spectrum was just like, no, I have aerial, we're good here. So a lot of future heroes have aerial. And if you do, you're probably running this card if you're running aggression. So deal 7 damage to enemy, deal 1 damage to each other enemy. That's crazy. Right. So there are now, we'll talk about this later on when we get further along in the series. But there are now cards like Hone Technique or whatever else that can really boost up this card and make it crazy strong. But even at its face value, right? Let's just look at what it is. 4 for 7 is not great, right? 3 for 7 is below the curve. But there, at this point for aggression, aren't a ton of cards that are dealing a lot of damage. You have a 3 for 5 attack card, which is good. But what's nice about this is that dealing 1 damage to each other enemy, so it's not just your enemies, but also all the other enemies at the table, is really nice, especially if you're dealing with a lot of minions or whatever that have tough on or whatever it may be. Now you're able to kind of spread that damage. Running against Ultron and you have a bunch of drones out there, they're gone, right? Unless they have 2 life from the upgrade or whatever. But generally speaking, they're gone. This is just an incredibly strong card. And at the time, people were like, it's kind of expensive, but we didn't have a lot of aggression events out there that really made sense. And now that there are so many ways to boost the damage on this card becomes incredibly strong. Incredibly strong. It's probably one of the most powerful cards in the game. Again, if you use Tone Technique and some other cards out there, it becomes bonkers strong. So it is, I think at the time it was a good card. People saw a lot of value in it. It was just expensive. It was hard to kind of get going, and it didn't make sense for every single scenario. But nowadays, if you're running an aerial aggression deck, it's almost impossible to not put this card in there. So I think it's a really cool card that they did. This started like kind of an aerial trend that we'll have, and I was a big fan of this. I was a fan of this card. Now I'm a big fan of this card because this is phenomenal. As always, let me know your thoughts. Do you disagree with me about Dive Bomb? Maybe you think it's a trash card and I want to hear it. Let me know down in the comments. And Pulse Grenade, have you come around Pulse Grenade? Do you still not like Pulse Grenade? Do you run it? Like I said, I don't run it all the time or anything like that, but I do see the situations in which it would make sense to run it. So while you're scrolling down and going into the comments, let me know your thoughts. Make sure to hit the like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications. And tomorrow's Friday, so I'll see you one last time.